Okay, call the meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So everyone's received the minutes from the last meeting. May I have a motion to adopt the minutes?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. So we're going to have a public hearing to consider the Tarpon Towers, Bell Atlantic Mobile Systems LLC Verizon cell tower. So before we begin the public hearing, be advised that the public hearing will be adjourned and not closed, as the seeker needs to be completed. The seeker will be completed before the public hearing opens at the next meeting on December 2nd, 2021. If anybody has any questions regarding that, Mr. Rosigno will explain what the issue was with that. So may I have a motion to open up the public hearing?
I'll move it. I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is now open. So is there anyone wishing to speak for or against the proposed cell tower? Yes, sir.
Good evening, my name is Jerry McComber. I live on Gloria Drive, which is not far from where the tower is going to be on the Abbott Farm piece of property. Is there any representative from Verizon?
Here is Mr. Lusk, Jared Lusk is here.
Hi, so I'm just curious where the adjacent towers are in the area?
Should I answer that?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
If you were to look, if the board would look at tab E of the application, there are two existing towers, two existing facilities serving the current area. I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna approach you so I can show you. The two existing towers, facilities, and this is all in the application, are the South Baldwinsville and Route 57 sites. And the South Baldwinsville site, I can give you the exact location of it. Give me 1 second. It's about 2.3 miles. I'm sorry. Located in the town of Van Buren, approximately 2 miles southwest of the facility. And the secondary serving site to this area is in the town of Clay, 2 miles to the northeast. So as you look, and again, if the board has our application in front of you, and if you look at tab E, and again, sort of explaining.
See, I haven't seen this.
Okay,
So I
I'm
don't think
sorry.
that was publicly available to us, this planning document?
I'm sorry.
I don't know, Dina, was that?
All I saw was the survey
So
stuff that was posted on the website.
So we posted the permit application and then
Okay.
the first seeker, and then we posted the site plan.
Site plan, which is hard to read and scanned, yes.
Sorry, I had it in
Well,
my.
I can just give you a little further clarity.
I mean, I haven't seen, I guess I haven't seen.
It's hard to read this anyway, so I'm just explaining it to the board and you, and you
Right.
know. All right, so what you see, this is the existing map of the area,
Right.
okay? There's existing coverage in the area from Verizon, and this is, again, I'm not making the full, I'm sort of making a presentation for you that's summary, but Verizon operates on 4 different frequencies,
Right.
4G, right? There's 700 megahertz, 850 megahertz, 1950 megahertz, and 2100 megahertz. In the application, and therefore the coverage from each of those frequencies is just a little bit different. But the 7 and the 850 megahertz is substantially the same. And the 1950 and 21 megahertz, they're very close on the dial.
Sure.
So what we've provided you are plots for 700 and the 2100, knowing that the other 2 frequencies are substantially similar to the 700 and 850.
What were you looking for, a better map of where it is?
No, I'm just trying to.
Site plan, map, is that what you're talking about? You can have this.
I do have that, but
Okay.
what I'm trying to understand is there's already coverage in the area. like from the YMCA down to the elementary school and through the farm. And I live on Gloria Drive, and I have coverage inside of my house, in my basement.
My brother lives on Gloria Drive as well too, and he doesn't have coverage. There's spotty coverage
Spotty coverage.
in the town as well too, and I'm sure if you're driving by north of the YMCA, you'll drop a call.
Right.
And also on 370 as well too, you'll
Yeah,
drop
and
2
then-
calls.
And the elementary school is also poorly covered.
Right, so this will alleviate that.
So I'm just trying to show you that the coverage areas are from those 2 towers. The purple that you see here is the coverage from the one, and the blue is the coverage from the other. And it doesn't take an RF engineer, we're sort of saying we need, this is too much traffic in this here and a spotty coverage that we're putting a tower basically in between those 2 existing towers. So when you turn the page, this new tower is gonna be,
That's the new.
that's the new coverage. So everywhere we see green is good. You all know, so I don't have, obviously the map is what it is, but I think you can tell from the facility that we're, again, really, it's designed to provide new direct coverage in that green area instead of you sitting in your house or in the school as you described and talking back to this tower up here or that tower down there. You're now gonna talk to this tower, and what it does is indirectly relieves the traffic on these other 2 towers because I guess half the coverage from that sector is now being serviced by the middle. So that's, if you're asking why we're doing it, that's why we're doing it.
And that's as far as the coverage reaches?
That's the, yes, that's the 700
Yeah.
megahertz. And again, these are scaled maps, but again, this is a better design of the coverage. Again, remember in this gives you the different levels of coverage. If you were, this is the existing situation. If you see here, green is good, red is bad. All right, just so you can see, here's the red ring in the middle. All this, there's coverage, there's some spotty coverage, but there's a lot of yellow and red. So when you put the green in, again, you get a big blob of green, and it adds to the coverage area in that area. All right, and then you get, this is the, as I said, this is that second frequency, which also is similar to the 1950. And again, this is the purple from the, and the blue from the adjacent. Again, this is 2100, it's a higher frequency. So instead of the radio waves of a 700 going like this, they're higher frequency, so they go like, so it doesn't go as far, so you get lost coverage. Again, maybe you know all about this, I'm just trying to explain. This is the 2100 megahertz coverage. Now, off that tower, and again, it gives you there's virtually no 2100 megahertz. White means there's no coverage at all.
And that's the area where the towers come.
Yeah, and you can see, to many of these diagrams look like spin art from our arts and crafts days, but the green is good. All right, so that's the purpose of it, if you were asking.
Yeah, that was my main question was where were the adjacent towers and the need for the additional coverage in the area? So that was one of my primary questions. And then my second question would be is this exclusive to Verizon, or will other carriers be able to lease on this tower space as well?
This tower is proposed to be built by Tarpon Towers. They're in the real estate business. The anchor tenant is Verizon. Tarpon makes money when other people join it. I suspect they'll be marketing that tower for any other carriers to join it.
Is that something that would have to come through this process as well?
Yes, but as long as it doesn't require a height extension of the tower, that we can administer a special use permit through the Codes Enforcement Office. So no public hearing required for additional antennas.
All right. That's all the questions I had.
They also flew the balloon yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. Did
Yes.
you get a chance to see it?
No,
Okay. Where the actual tower was going to be placed.
no, I wasn't aware that was happening. But I didn't leave the house yesterday, so maybe somebody else saw it. Okay, sounds like it's justified in terms of the additional coverage for the area. So thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Is there anybody else who wants to speak regarding? Yes, sir. Yep.
Do I have to go up there? I'm Jim Meaner, I'm on Gloria Drive as well.
got a question for you guys, or more so Tarpon Towers. This is a green area, as you know, a lot of farms, and when we first moved out here, that's the main reason we did. It was lush, it was green, it was farmland, and I'd like to see a lot of that stay green. I don't want to see a metal tower. When I wake up in the morning and I go to work or go wherever I'm going, is there a way we could disguise this tower somehow? I know they put towers in churches and steeples, these antenna arrays. I don't know if that's going to be able to do that with this, but can we keep it green? Can we keep the eyesore away from this project?
Did you see where the bloom was?
I did.
Okay. It's kind of hidden, tucked away in that corner.
Going down my street, but when you make a right or left and you're coming up Hicks, you're gonna see a tower. I mean, this whole area coming up Hicks Road, 370, you'll see the tower. I don't know how much of it because I didn't pay too much attention until I was almost on top of the balloon yesterday.
Did you want me to respond to that?
That's all I got.
Verizon and Tarpon routinely will look at stealth designs when it's in context. So example, if you have a church steeple, it only works next to a church. There are silos that go next to a barn. Having a silo in the middle of a field without a barn just makes it look like a larger tower. What we found, and again, we have, as you will see from the balloon or the simulations when they come in, we have, again, attempted to hide the tower as best we can. It's hard to hide a 120-foot structure if you make it a steeple, a silo, or something else. So again, with my growing up in upstate New York, there's galvanized towers everywhere, and I think people agree that they blend into the central New York. My wife's from Syracuse, so I'm not putting Syracuse down. I live in Rochester. Our wonderful upstate skies for 7 months of the year are great. Again, they blend, and they're less of a visual eyesore than attempting to make something appear out of context, like a silo or a context without the other buildings, etc.
Anyone else?
I'm Bessie Wright, and I'm on Camerondale Road. I've been there for about 22 years. We've had fine cell phone coverage, no drop calls, FiOS, all of that is just great. But to tag on to what Mr. Meter was saying about disguising or covering up the tower, in the Adirondacks, do they not have towers that they have made green to kind of blend in and not take away from the Adirondack experience?
Do you want me to answer that question?
Sure.
Am I?
Yeah.
Like, I know where you're going, because I had the same questions you guys all had, both of you.
Yep.
You know, like sometimes you see a cell phone tower and it's disguised as a tree, right?
Right.
So
Right.
that's, yeah.
Again, in the right context, that will be fine. I represent Verizon and done all their towers with the APA. There are times when, in a given circumstance, a tree tower is used. I would say most of the time it is not. They have us painting. We put the APA is very difficult because we end up putting towers on the side of mountains, and so we are building roads up the sides of hills, and you're in and amongst some trees, and so you can place it. There's no other. This we're in the farm field, etc. It's not. It's contextually it's different, but again, most of the time in my 20 years of doing it for Verizon, it is a tower that's just where the antennas are just above a set of trees that are around it, because they're on the mountains shooting down into the highway. So there isn't a need for it to be, the land where they're sitting is higher than the area that they're covering. Here, we have a whole entirely different topography, so we can't be just above the trees, because am I making sense to you?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so we can be just 5 or 10 feet above the trees on the side of a mountain shooting down into a valley, and it's not above it, so you can just put there isn't a need to put a tree in most circumstances, because all you're seeing is the top of the antennas. So, again, I hope I'm answering your question. That's the difference.
I mean, in this case, the way I'm looking at the map is there's trees to the left and there's gonna be trees behind it.
Right.
And the rest of it's in an open field. And the road going to the tower, is that gonna be stone, paved?
It's going to be gravel.
Okay.
And, I'm sorry, again, it's a 120-foot tower. The trees aren't 120 feet. So again, when the APA, when we're just above the tower, it could be well, and you could put a little tree tower maybe at the top of the antenna, and would blend with the other trees. The fact that we're 30 feet above the trees, if you try to make a tree out of it, it's going to look like a little bit out of context.
And you had mentioned something about balloons that were sent up?
There was a balloon that was flown where
Was there a scheduled set time for that to happen?
Yeah, there
Yeah,
was
so
actually-
it was posted in the paper for the 30th initially, and the weather didn't cooperate. We reposted again on the,
This is the 30th or the 1st?
yeah, and then we posted again on
For the 15th and the 16th of this week, and we also said that if it wasn't on the 15th or the 16th, we would do it on the next business day as noticed on the website. So we attempted to come out on the 15th and the 16th, didn't work because of the wind. Again, the balloons are just like any balloons you put to hang up off your deck with helium. They're a little larger, but they're really impacted by the wind. So if the wind is more than about 5 or 6 miles an hour, you can't do the balloon fly. So Wednesday, we were able to conduct the balloon fly, and it was posted on the town website.
Okay, and this is probably my last question. Is there any marker in the field now that would tell us exactly where the tower will be?
I don't know that question.
you couldn't see it from the road either way. You wouldn't be able to see, because the way the topography is, where the corner where it drops
Well,
off there.
when I look at the map, it looks like it's fairly close to the road.
Oh, no, it's way up the road.
Because
Yeah, it's 200 and,
it looks like when you turn onto Hicks, after you pass that house and barn, it looks like you're gonna turn in, which I think farm equipment does now for that field. And then the road's gonna run right alongside Hicks, and then you're just gonna take a slight turn in.
no,
Out of
this-
your neighborhood or your street, you take a right, and all those woods are there, and then when
Right.
the field opens up, it's gonna be
Right.
tucked around right there and behind those trees in the back.
So it's gonna be behind all
It's
that.
almost directly across from Gloria.
yeah, almost, the road end is almost directly across from Gloria.
So if I was coming down Gloria, you see the field that kind of goes up a little bit and then goes back down?
That's
It's
what's
gonna be further back?
It's gonna be further back in there.
Okay. The way I was looking at the map, I thought it was just.
You won't be able to see it from your house.
The site
I
itself.
don't care about really
Yeah,
from my
yeah.
house, but it's just that, you know, again, we've always been agricultural in the area, and, you know, we'd like to see it stay that way. So, thank you.
One more question.
Sure.
Follow up.
Yep.
I guess I thought it was gonna be like right there. Okay.
Follow-up question to you, sir. You mentioned that these galvanized towers blend in with the topography and the blend in with the surroundings. Can you explain to me how a galvanized tower blends in with trees? I can't visualize that. In fact, that I see an eyesore, no matter how you try to sugarcoat that blending in thing.
I was referencing the central New York sky, not with the trees, but again, the landscape, there are towers.
I don't care about the top. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I don't care about the top. I get the top is gonna be exposed, and the tower, when you're coming up the road and you see the farmland and you see cornfields, you see the trees, that nice corner cut with trees, that galvanized eyesore, and I don't understand how that's gonna blend in with my environment.
The best way to describe what the tower looks like is anytime that you go on the corner of any major road where there are traffic signals, there are the galvanized poles that hold up the traffic signal that are concreted in the ground, that are all, they have little panels of steel that, you know, that they look almost hexagonal, but there's more than, there's little, that's exactly what the tower will be. And they're on to say they're on every corner, again, they're basically in every corner where there's a traffic light all over the landscape. So they're routinely part of the landscape as we drive through town. And, you know, again, this is a little taller, but again, it's of the same materials, the same engineering design as those, what we see in our daily lives as we drive through every town in New York.
I'm aware, but you see a sign that says no parking, and then you see a billboard. Two entirely different things. They're both signs. One's the gigantic, obnoxious billboard, and one's a little no parking sign. We're talking apples and oranges here. It's not gonna blend. It's gonna be an eyesore.
We can't hide a tower. I'm not saying that you're not gonna see it.
Exactly. You can't hide the tower. That's my point.
From a visual perspective, it's very similar to the other towers that you see throughout the landscape and other similar utility infrastructure. Thank you.
Do you have one in your backyard, sir?
I do, as a matter of fact.
How's it look?
Okay, well, we're not going to get into arguments. If you
No,
want to ask me a
I'm not
question,
trying to argue.
Well, now you're starting to argue with him, and he has one perspective, you have another. And I think he understands, I think so does everybody. You're not going to be able to hide it, and you don't like it. We get it.
Point taken.
Anybody else?
Can I ask one more question?
Okay.
I promise this will be my last question. My question is this the only area that was considered for this tower? What other, or if there were other areas, where were they?
Well, I can talk to that. There's a whole exhibit about our site selection process,
Oh, okay.
but there is, again, I'll go back to the microphone. The Verizon RF engineer, when he, in this case, he said, I need to put a tower in this particular area. It needs to be evenly spaced between those two surrounding sites. Right? They can't be too close to those sites because it'll cause interference. So it needs to be right on the edge of those particular areas. So in Exhibit F of the application is a design, an area that you see here. And that was what we call the search ring. Here it's more of a hexagon. But there were, and if you were to look at the report that we listed here, there were, I think, 6 parcels that were in that area that are large enough to host a tower, right, that aren't residential lots. Most of them, again, are owned by the Abbott family, but again, there were 6 parcels that were explored. I think 1, 2, 3, and then 4 of them were Abbott's, and we negotiated with that landlord on where they wanted it and what was in the best location. The center of the ring, right, would be the best location. The other 2 locations were the Petta property located at 7800 Hicks Road, and Catherine Thompson property located at 3230 Patchett Road. We sent a letter to her and she did not respond.
Thank you.
You have any questions?
My name is Keiko Sanders, I live in Camerondale Road. I'm kind of concerned about the radio frequency waves coming from the tower, and it's close to the church and the elementary school. Well, American Cancer Society hasn't proved they don't say it's dangerous or anything right now, but they don't say in the future may find it's not good for our health. And I'm old, so I'm okay, but the elementary school kids and young children around my neighborhood, I think I'm really concerned about those health issues.
Sure.
Yeah, please.
I don't know anything about radio.
As Mr. Rivizigno will tell you, that the federal government has set standards through the FCC on the appropriate level of RF energy that folks can be, that can be subjected to. All right, and it's a level that Verizon, as a condition of receiving its FCC license, has to comply with. And Exhibit J to the application is a certification, again, from Verizon, indicating, again, that the project will fully comply with the federal standards, will be under it. If you were to do an examination or measure the RF levels that are coming from this antenna or from this facility, they are less than 1% of the federal maximum level. So they're at least 99% below the maximum level. And again, it's consistent. There's RF coming from these fluorescent lights. There's far more RF energy coming from people's cell phones next to their face, or as kids are holding the iPads and things like that.
How about the earbuds?
Yes, same. It's all the energy. Again, it's less than 1% of the federal standards that people are concerned that there's far more RF energy from the devices that they're actually using.
Well, the study is not concluded, so it's new. So I'm just reading American Cancer Society's article. So,
Again, the federal government has preempted this issue from the towns. Once we've demonstrated that we're within that federal limit, the town, they just said this is the safety level that's required, and they've essentially done that research for us. But RF energy's been around since, the 30s and the 40s, and again, it's there's RF energy all around us, and again, we're less than 1% of the maximum level.
thank you.
Fred Burge, Plainville Road. So, from my home's view, this project isn't disturbing the aesthetics or anything like that. But I live out in the country, and I can understand how you guys feel. And it's one thing, like we're all aware, as you approach the village on 31, there's the towers there across from Budweiser that serve the village. And they've been there for a long time, and a lot of people didn't used to see them because it was all woods there. Now that's development there, and it's opened up so you can see it from a long ways away. But those towers have been there before the first house went in. So all those people are signing up to something that's already there. That's one thing. But like as a few of these people have said, who've been there for the duration and been there for a while, when you change what they've been used to, that's a completely different thing. They've been there for a while. They didn't sign up for that. So that's the perspective that I see that they're coming from, and I feel for you guys. I drive quite often between Fayetteville and Oneida on Route 5, I think it is there. And I'm not sure what affiliation it is or what company it is, but as you're going towards Oneida and you get up on one of those hills there, you can see up on the left-hand side, there's quite a large tower. Now it's backed by fir trees, but they've taken that tower and completely disguised it as a fir tree, and unless you have great eyes, you won't even know it's there. I mean, I see it, and I'm like, you see it, see it, see it. And people are like, what are you talking about? So there are some things that can be done. I don't know. I thought it was going to be closer to the cornfield. I was thinking maybe we could disguise it as a big corn stalk or something like that. But apparently it's going to be tucked in. So, and then from another standpoint, if it is inevitably going to be put in, I'd like to see the most value for the town. So from your little presentation, I thought, well, it's going to be greater coverage, it's going to be better for you, but people are in business to make money. So obviously this is a money-making operation for you. So, and it's not just making better coverage for people. I'm not sure if I approach the town engineer, I'm not sure if it's viable or not, but if it does go in there eventually, is it possible that the town of Lysander can work out a deal that we can get a weather station up on that so it can be on the town website so people can look and see what the humidity and the barometer and the temperature and the wind and those things are, maybe even a radar, so I don't know, depending on what it's going to be, but is there a way we can work together on that? And that's basically what I had.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Doug Lape, I live on Gloria Drive. When my wife and I were looking for a house, we actually looked right across the street in that neighborhood with the cell towers are. And I saw those towers, like, we are not living here. So that's my concern, really, is just the looks, the aesthetics of it. I'm totally excited for the Abbotts, that they're going to get income out of this. They're great neighbors. But I'm concerned about my property values. The last few years, we've been getting hammered on our tax assessments. It's going up 30%. So I'm concerned my property values are going to go down with that eyesore. And if you guys put in public septic, we'll call it good.
That's it. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, I'm Nick Piscata. I live at 7800 Hicks Road, and I too have the same concerns all these people in this room have. My property is where the proposed antenna is going to be. It's like 50 foot from two sides of my property, and I feel that's a detriment to me and the value of my property. I didn't build a house there, so I can't sell it in the future because of the big eyesore in my backyard. Maybe down the road I want to subdivide. Who's going to buy any kind of a house with an antenna 10 foot from the front yard? It's just, we're from this area. My wife's grandparents are the Hickses. The road's named after them. They put all that stuff and effort into that farmland, and that's why I built there. If I wanted to have a tower in my backyard, I'd have moved next to one. It's an eyesore. And my property, the taxes in the place are unbelievable. And now I gotta look at a tower over my trees. I just think it's unfair and really should be looked at for another spot. I mean, Mr. Abbott's got a lot of land. I don't know why he's putting it 50 foot from my property. And the other, I agree with everybody here, and I did a little bit of research and 5G, and there's just nothing out there right now. What's the long-term effects? We've got children, animals, me, I'm only 800 foot from that spot. So I'd like, a little bit more information on all this. Did you guys do any kind of investigation about 5G long-term?
It's not proposed 5G for the tower, it's 4G tower.
Oh, it is a 4G. How come it says 5G and everything I read?
Well, there's 5G and Verizon's, Verizon has 5G, but this is a 4G tower.
Okay. That's all I have to say. I just wish we could look at that area a little bit more and see if there's another site. I mean, I'm not opposed to the towers, but I don't want it right next to my property. Because that's probably where I would subdivide, break down that side and all in the back. Who wants to look at that? Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Jody Capicelli. I've lived on 3015 Camerondale Road for 43 years, 25 of which I was the head of the neighborhood watch. Worked with the sheriff's department, who was wonderful. a whole bunch of other organizations I don't need to name because everybody knows what Neighborhood Watch is, I believe. And I have a very different perspective. I'm probably gonna walk out of here with some enemies in my neighborhood, but I think there's something else that people are not looking at. What's the reason we're putting this here? I believe Verizon is doing this, and the people who are behind it, to do a service. And the service is one of the ones I got the most phone calls about when I was a neighborhood watch coordinator. Our power's out. What am I gonna do? I don't have a phone. My phone won't work. I can't charge my battery. I must have gotten hundreds of calls over the years. People complaining about not enough lights, street lights. We have no street lights on Gloria or Camerondale. So we had a big meeting. Most of the people that came were people on Gloria Drive, which was at that time a very new development and beautiful. People are great. I like all of my neighbors. You know, there's problems with any kind of a neighborhood. Everybody doesn't just get along, but people have differences of opinion. And there was a group of people who wanted streetlights. So I said, okay, the only thing I can think of is get a hold of National Grid. So we did, and we had a meeting, and National Grid gave everybody the option of explaining why they wanted streetlights. There had never been any there. There are also no sidewalks. And I believe, I don't know for sure, does anybody know what the speed limit is on that street? Is it 30? 30.
On what,
On Camerondale?
30.
It's 30. Well, we have a sheriff and his son and his wife, they're all sheriffs. They all think that's not a good speed limit. It should be lowered because it's very dangerous, especially at night because it's so dark. People walk. Babies and carriages, and it's a wonder somebody hasn't been, God forbid, hit or killed. Because people come flying up that street and they don't care if you're standing in the road. It happened to me a couple weeks ago. I was talking to my neighbor and he was in his truck and a car practically took my elbow off. Just sped up and then went around the corner. And I always yell at them and they don't care. Slow down. You have kids here. So at the meeting, National Grid put together a packet for everybody to look at. And the people, to almost one, and they're not all the same people that live there now, so I'm not blaming anybody, but I'm just saying this is the kind of thing that happens. And by the way, I was a high school teacher for a while too, 25 years of listening at meetings to things where people didn't agree on a lot. When they came back with their schematic, we had another meeting. The people who, to one person, except for one person, who had asked, complained, and made the most trouble for the neighbors about wanting to get those big, poles, the old-fashioned poles. That's all they had at that time. I don't know if they have anything different now. Looked at them and said, wait a sec, this light's gonna be going in my kid's bedroom. How are they gonna sleep? All of a sudden, these people don't, well, wait a minute, can you move it over there to my next door neighbor? And that's a mentality that bothers me. We push it off on other people. It's okay as long as it's not bothering me. So there's a lot more of things I could tell you, but I'm not going to. I just want you to know that the thing that I feel about this is the reason that they want to do it is because they're trying to do a service for people. And the service is giving us better cell service, better internet, better ways of communicating, and I think it's a safe way. Most people I know, I bet if I asked you to raise your hands, are sitting with their cell phones in their pockets or next to them or in their purses or whatever right now. Their children have them, at younger and younger ages. I know that because I have family that are all teachers. And I just think, if anybody's lived there as long as I have and knows how bad the service has become, I can't call my husband at Timberbanks Golf Course, which I could walk to next to the YMCA. The service is horrible. If I get in my car and I drive down to 370, no, is it 370? I get mixed up, yeah, 370, to turn right, to go toward Target and all those places, no service. My sister will call me when she knows I'm there. Then she knows that I can't talk that long. Anyway, I think we should look at what the good is as opposed to the bad. And my feeling is the good outweighs it. I know people who are elderly and young as well who don't have a landline. Most people tonight, I think, have just cell phones. I have a landline, but not everybody does. Most people have a computer, but not everybody does. And on and on and on with all your electronic equipment. And it's been worse and worse and worse over the years. I am so frustrated. I've had my phone at Verizon once a month, and they keep saying it's not your phone, it's your service. And I've seen it deteriorate. And we took a tower down a while ago. I don't know if you know where it was. My husband talked to the man who was doing it. And when they took that tower down, I could not call my sister, who lives on Oneida Lake. We can't call each other. There's no reception. And I know a lot of other people who have the same problem. They can't text each other. They can't do this. They can't do that. So my question to you is, what's more important? What this will do for us is good, or what? And the other thing that really is bothering me is this word eyesore constantly. There are people who don't clean their yards on our street. They have houses that are eyesores. They don't mow their lawns, they put the trash out and leave it for days, all kinds of other things. People don't like their decor. This is too fancy, you put your Christmas tree up too early, you don't leave, that kind of stuff. Everybody knows about this. Everybody lives in some sort of neighborhood, okay? So I feel the word eyesore is just a way of getting out of this. So what? We have to put up with things in our life that we don't like. That is what we have to consider. If it's an eyesore, so what? What's the good that comes from it? And look at your own self. You know, is your house perfect? Do you have everything you need? Because if I get one more phone call, and I've been on a neighborhood watch for 5 years now, not one person in the neighborhood, and I went to every single mailbox. Not one person volunteered to take it over. So we don't have anybody running it right now, but we're still a neighborhood watch. So thank God for the sheriff here and all of his deputies. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay. May I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing, and which will continue on December 2nd at 7 p.m.
I'll move that. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Okay. So, Pickle Boulevard discussion. This is something, Mr. Rizzigo, what we're going to do with this? Pickle Boulevard?
Just a discussion as to, we're going to send a letter, I think is what you were looking for?
Well, yeah, just for the benefit of the folks in the room, I had asked the board to discuss what I see, and I think others have seen as an issue if you're traveling west, approaching 690-48, that intersection. There's only 2 lanes that you can use. One is to make a right-hand turn only going north onto 48, and then the other one is to go straight where you would cross 690 and hit Church Road or make a left. The problem with that intersection is that there's a lot of traffic making a left-hand turn that are trucks. And so you often miss the light. It's very easy to miss the light. So I don't know what the protocol would be, but if folks agree that it's an issue that we should get Onondaga County, I think they own the road, right?
Yeah, it's coming.
That if we could just ask them to take a look at it to see if anything
Sure, we
can be
can,
done.
we can send a letter.
I don't know what you do, Bob. I forget what the protocol is, but to someone, is there a solution to this that the owner of the road could?
Send a letter.
Yeah, so let's send a letter.
So, yeah, if you, we've been doing it, our town clerk has been taking care of that with us, so if you want to get together with her, we can certainly take a,
I'll work with you.
have them take a look at it.
Isn't it wide enough, Bob, where you can just ask them to restripe it, so that way you're allowed to?
Well, that's where I want to defer to a traffic engineer. When in my brief conversation with Al, I said it's probably a doable thing, but a traffic engineer has to.
Yeah, of course,
I think you've got my naive or non-traffic engineer perspective is, look at, there's plenty of road to be able to do something with, so. I'll draft a letter, and I'll give it to you, okay?
Perfect. Citizens' comments. We had plenty of comments on the cell tower. Is there anybody else that wants to speak on?
Not the cell tower, I'm sorry.
No, on other town business.
Yes.
Sure.
Go.
Can you state your name?
Yes. Norm Trano, I'm 23 Charlotte Street.
I'm Hillary Uzatinsky, and I'm actually from Fayetteville.
Is she allowed to stay? So we're here representing about 50 active pickleball players that play a lot of pickleball at the town of Lysander Park. And thank you for resurfacing. And the feedback we got, it's one of the best pickleball locations in the county.
I had heard it was the best.
Yeah, it was the best.
Right, Mr. Merrill?
It's really good.
That's right.
And
People are willing to travel the distance.
That's right.
yeah, you know, well, thank you, it's great use. The reason we're here alongside Kevin, this September, we put on a pickleball tournament. And we had 2 groups of 30 each, so 60 people. And it was a great success. We got positive feedback from it. Don't ask me how I placed in the tournament, because I didn't do too well.
You play every day, though.
Yeah, I know, everyone does. So as part of the tournament, we had a regular registration fee. And I can't remember what we cleared from that, Kevin.
It's like 600 or something.
More than that.
More than that.
Yeah.
More than that, yeah.
We also did a raffle where we raffled off paddles that were donated. And we're here to present the board with a check of $575. The monies hopefully will go used towards pickleball activities at the park, by Kevin and alongside the rest of our group. So I don't know how often people show up after giving you guys a check, right?
Not often enough. As often as we can get them here.
Yeah,
You know, so you got other friends that want to give us money.
Sure. Yeah, so the facility's great, the surfacing is great, the park is beautiful and well-used, and we certainly appreciate the attention to the activity and recreation and enjoyment and friendship of the park.
Great. Well, why don't you, Cindy, could you take a picture with Mr. Merrill and Mr. Kudarasis, because they're related.
Yeah.
So we'll get up there, we'll get a little picture so we can put it in a little paper.
Yeah. And we'd like you guys to come out and play this spring.
Donnie Mayor's been trying to get.
Yeah, at least,
I stop by every now and then.
Yeah, had your big check prepared.
If you want to take half of that, Hillary, come over here.
You're not gonna grab it?
Oh, I got it.
That's it. No, pizza. Everybody smile, nice picture. Very good. You have the names, spellings and everything, so I have everything.
I'll send that to you.
Thanks.
I mean, it'll be a little better next time.
You can just leave it up there, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Very nice.
Very nice. Very nice.
So we understand that you want to put it towards the pickleball stuff, and I don't think that'll be a problem with anybody. So we'll make sure it goes back into funding, whatever we do with the pickleball.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you again.
Thank you.
I just have a question on that. How many courts are going to remain for playing of tennis?
There's 2.
There's 2, but how many
There's
courts?
2 that remain as permanent tennis courts.
Okay.
a little tough for the leagues over there. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Fred Birch, Plainville Road. I want to skip a beat here a little bit. So last week, or 2 weeks ago at the town board meeting, there was discussion about grants and installing expensive backup generator equipment at both this facility and the town highway department. And I just wanted to discuss that a little bit. Certainly at the town highway department, where those guys are working with tools and having to repair equipment and stuff like that, I certainly see a need for something like that. At this building, the information isn't foilable, I believe, but I did a little research to find out how many times in the last 6 years this facility has lost power during the day for a substantial amount of time, and I would say a substantial amount of time would be an hour or more. And I could find one occasion in the last 6 years that this building lost power for more than 1 hour. And I would suggest that that's not a lot of workload that's lost. And those backup generators are wonderful. I wish I was rich and could buy one for everybody in the town of Lysander. I really think they're great. I don't have one. I got one you gotta pour gas into and pull it and extend the cords and stuff, but I'm happy to have that. But the reason I'm talking about that is because I pay attention to national politics as well as local politics, or government. Governing is a better word to use. And boy, there's a lot of going around one side versus another side, taxation, over taxation, and that this is just a redistribution of wealth. I'm a Republican, but I hear that term all the time by angry Republicans, a redistribution of wealth.
Well, we want to stay away from politics here. If you got,
The point I'm making is I believe that grant is just a fancy way of dressing up a redistribution of wealth. And I know we're getting a grant for this and a grant for this and a grant for that. And we don't mind it when it's coming to us, but when it's our taxes that are getting raised and maybe some of that money might be redistributed someplace else, I mean, we're upset about it. So I'm just wondering when we're gonna stop the hypocrisy. If we're set on, we don't like high taxes and high regulation, but at the same time, we're willing to accept free monies that come from somewhere else. I just don't see how that meshes right. And I know it's not gonna stop us from getting more grants. I'd rather maybe petition for monies. Go out and talk to the people and get signatures to, is this a project that we need and we deserve? And if so, let's approach the state that way, as opposed to people in high places having connections and getting, I just think it's hypocritical for us to say, hey, we're gonna try to keep taxes low and we don't want the redistribution of wealth to take from us to give to people that might not be as deserving of it. At the same time, we're taking grants left and right. And I don't know, it just doesn't mesh with me proper. And I just wanted to say something about it, so I appreciate your time.
Okay. Anyone else?
Common Road, 1405 Greymore Way. At the last work session on the 4th, there was discussion about purchasing a truck for the Parks Department, but I don't see it on this week's agenda. So I just didn't know, I thought we were gonna move it to this agenda. We had a quote from a company we were looking to trade the truck in or whatever. I was just wondering what happened with that. Thank you.
Anyone else? So We'll move on to supervisors' comments. Some of the things that came up in response to getting grants. And we did receive another $100,000 grant from the county that we applied for. And that's going to go towards the fields that we're building over at the park. The building's coming down. I think we just got the bids in. When do they plan on doing the building?
Right now, the only holdup is National Grid decommissioning the gas service.
Yes, so as soon as we get that sometime over the winter, we're going to have the house down and trees are going down, and we're going to clear out that field, and we're going to look to put in a couple of fields. And almost all of that money, in fact, I think all of that money, as I'm looking to put those fields in, will come from grant money. Now, that grant money, if we don't take it, it goes to somebody else. If we don't take it, it goes to Fayetteville. If it comes in from the feds, if it doesn't come into New York, it'll go to Florida, it'll go to Missouri, Mississippi. That money's going out. We don't have any control over that. I can only, and the board can only work within the rules that we have to deal with. And the rules are, here, our federal government just put out a $1 trillion bunch of money out for infrastructure. That money's going out. All of that money's going to go. It's going to go to somebody. What are we going to say? No, we're not going to take it because everybody in this room pays federal tax. Whether you pay taxes, income tax, or you pay tax when you go to the grocery store, or when you go and get gas, everybody pays tax. So, from my perspective, my job is to make sure that our town taxes are as low as we can get them, and the infrastructure is as good as we can get it. So how do we do that? Well, we try to get money from outside sources so that we don't have to raise taxes here. That's why Henkel Boulevard, all the way from 690 all the way down Henkel, West Entry, onto Willett Parkway, Route 31, that was all done this year. I mean, that's all in the town. Some of it was state, some of it was county, some of it was town, some of it was grants. I can tell you right now, only about 10,000 or 10% of the money that went into doing those roads came from the town. That was a lot of money that residents would have had to pay for if we hadn't gotten that grant. The money that goes into the park, some people don't use the park. They don't like the idea that we spend money for the park. I get it. So I try to listen to people, and we take that into consideration. We try to find ways to enhance the experience for people going to the park without having to raise taxes. How do we do that? We do that through grants. And we're fortunate because the county, we have a good relationship with the county executive, the Dave Knapp, the chairman of the Ledge, and our county legislator, Brian May. They do a great job for us. We have a good working relationship with us, and they've been very good to the town of Lysander. So as Assemblyman Barkley, so as Senator Mannion, we've been very fortunate that the town of Lysander has good relationships with these people. But if we don't take that money, it goes somewhere else. So until they change the rules, and I agree with you, if I think that our federal government and our state government spends too much money, but there's nothing that we're going to do about it. They're going to spend it whether we take it or not. So I say if they offer it, then we're going to take it. We also got $23,000 from FEMA to assist. We spent $23,000 on a drainage issue at the end of Van Wee and Willett, right? Or Drake's Land.
The Van Wee stormwater detention pond outfall.
Stormwater detention. And that because of Hurricane Fred, you know, it was Fred, it cost the town, it cost the residents of Radisson, their drainage district, $23,000, which they had to put in. Well, that's going to go back into that money, so they're going to get reimbursed from the federal government for that money. Generators in the building. Generators, this is something I do have some experience with emergency management. Generators are like insurance. I don't think there's too many people here that will go without homeowners insurance. Maybe there's some that has plenty of money, you don't need it. But if generators are insurance, if we have a Labor Day storm like we did years ago, where the whole county is wiped out. And some places were wiped out for 2 weeks. Some people were without heat in their house, without air conditioning, without any type of electricity. They need somewhere to go. Well, where are they going to go? Right now, we started working on an emergency management plan for the town of Lysander, because you can't always rely on the state and the county. If we have a big one like that, we're on our own. So where would people go? We need facilities. This will be one of those facilities. There's certain things that you need in a facility in order to house people. You need a kitchen, you need running water, you need bathrooms, you need electricity, places for people to sleep, to move around. So we could, I'm not sure exactly how many people we could fit in here, but we're going to be able to house some people in an emergency. And also, if you have a big storm, where are people going to go for their information? Who are they going to look to help them in an emergency? They're going to come to the town. We need help. Well, if our electricity's out, how do we offer that help? We're going to be down and out just like everybody else. The phones won't work, the electricity won't work, we won't be able to house anybody. We need a generator here, and we need a generator in the highway. Hopefully, we will never have to use them. But these generators, if we do a good job, these generators will last 50 years. Easily, maybe longer, I don't know. I think the military has some that are even older than that. So if you're looking at an investment of, even if, say you spent $150,000 on a generator and it lasted 50 years, that's $3,000 a year. I think that's pretty cheap insurance. But with the generators, that is something that we definitely need to do, and we're going to have to move forward on that, because I think that in an emergency, you're going to want your town to be up and running, and that's the only way that we'll be able to do it. The county executive was on TV today talking about COVID shots. If you didn't know, anyone over 18 can get COVID boosters now, and there's a number of places that you can go and get them. Plus also, he was encouraging people, if you do come down with COVID, to call your doctor or get some sort of medical attention as soon as you can, because there's therapeutics now, a number of therapeutics that they can administer to people with COVID, and it lessens the effects of it if you get it early on. So it's important for you to get it early on. I'm just reinforcing that message from the county executive. As far as our building permits, I mean, we're up about an extra $50,000 over what we budgeted this year, so that's good. So our budgeting process from last year, we were very conservative with the way we did things, because we didn't want to fall short. But fortunately for us, we not only didn't we fall short, we're doing much better than we thought. So that's good moving into this following year. That's all I have. Town board comments. We'll start with you tonight, Mr. Moore.
All right, thank you. For starters, I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight. It's nice to hear everybody's viewpoints and perspectives. It's nice to see people in the audience. Also, as we all know, a week from today is Thanksgiving. Before we meet again up here as a board, we'll be well into the holiday season. So I just hope everyone enjoys their family. I hope this year is a year where you can get together with your family and do things like perhaps you've done in the past, and have a wonderful holiday season. So thanks again for coming, and enjoy your families. Thank you.
That was well said, Pete, and I can only echo that, and it was really nice to see so many comments. Sometimes this is a lonely place at town board meetings, nobody's here, so it's nice to have you folks here tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll echo what Pete said and Mr. Gerasi. It's nice to see a few new faces in the crowd, and hopefully you guys keep on coming. You know, it's nice to look out there and see some people that we haven't seen before, so thank you.
Thank you very much for the feedback, and as everyone else said, thank you for coming.
Start with you, Mr. Rosigno. Mr. Mayor.
I have nothing.
Forget the pig and one. Mr. Yeager.
Our contractor started the LED conversion today. Believe they did 14 lights in total today. They're gonna have 3 crews. They anticipate about a 4-week schedule on the LED conversion for all the lights in the town. So
That's townwide,
Town.
with the poles and everything.
the new poles are already in. This is just retrofit of the actual light
But
fixtures.
the new poles that are in will be fitted.
Yeah, they've already energized a couple of those as well. So in the next week or two, all of those should be energized.
Because there's people in Radisson, people on Patch Road, within a month. And I told people by the end of the summer, I thought they'd be in. So we're pretty good with that timetable.
Yeah,
By the end of the summer.
Yeah, well, that's the goal. That's the goal. Really, everything hinges on National Grid for the new pole energization.
Okay. Ms. Falcone.
I'm all set tonight, thank you.
So, move on to the regular agenda items. May I have a motion to adopt the 2022 Town of Lysander preliminary budget?
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? I only got one short comment to make. Like I said, we've been really being conservative with the money that we're spending, and we're only spending it on things that we need, and I think we've done quite a bit in the past 2 years. But, and as far as the tax rate, we are one of the lowest in the county, and after this year, I think we may be the lowest, because I know what some towns are increasing their tax rate, where if you live outside of the village of Baldwinsville, in this year, you're gonna be going down 7%. Last year, you went down, it was negligible, but you did go down 1/10%. So, but if you're inside the village, you're going down, within a 2-year, you're going down 16% this year, and in a 2-year reduction is 26%. And the reason the difference between the village and outside the village is the village doesn't pay your highway tax. So anybody that lives outside the village, you pay a highway tax, and that's where the bulk of our budget goes. But still, within the last 2 years, we're looking at either a small decrease or a decrease of this year of 7%. And looking at our projected revenues for next year, I think that we can continue that reduction for next year as well. If things continue to go as they went this year and are projected to go throughout the year, I think that residents will see another reduction next year, on top of all the things that we talked about, on top of increasing our equipment, buying new equipment in the park and in the highway, doing the roads, and making substantial improvements in the park, and also to the property that the town owns. That's all with giving a decrease. So I think with our vehicles, the town vehicle, we did order that one, but we weren't doing it this year. It wasn't coming until next year, so we didn't have to pass a resolution, because it's already in the budget. That's why, if you were looking for it, it's already built into the budget, and we won't get it for over 6 months, so there was no need to do any other movement on that vehicle. And that, we're trading in a year-old vehicle, and we're getting a brand-new vehicle. We paid $27,000 or $28,000 for that originally, and we're getting a vehicle that's $32,000 or $33,000, and it's not costing the town anything. It's an even swap. So as long as we can continue to do that, we're doing that with the highway, we're doing, and any of our vehicles or equipment, when we can do that, we're swapping them out every year, because we get a lower rate than people can buy in retail. And if we can, and when there's a high demand for these vehicles, we're able to get a very good return on those vehicles, where you can actually almost make money on it. So we're going to continue to do that. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. We have a motion to hold a public hearing on Thursday, December 2nd, 2021 at 7 p.m. in the Lysander Town Hall to hear those for or against a local law to adopt out on an on-site cannabis consumption sites as authorized under Cannabis Law, Article 4.
I'll move it.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. May I have a motion to hold a public hearing on Thursday, December 2nd, 2021 at 7 p.m. in the Lysander Town Hall to hear those for or against a local law to opt out of allowing cannabis retail dispensaries in the town of Lysander as authorized under Cannabis Law, Article 4.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Any discussions? So before we hold that hearing, I just wanted to let people know, if you're planning on coming to the next meeting, that both the town of Clay and the town of Van Buren have opted in to cannabis sales, just for your information. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. May I have a motion to authorize the supervisor to sign the Willett Parkway culvert repair contract with Vector Construction in the amount of $460,252.
I'll move it.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Mr. Yeager, for those that might not know, just explain what we're doing there.
So we are slip lining the 84-inch culvert outfall from the Willett Pond stormwater detention basin and two 48-inch culverts under the National Grid transmission lines on Willett Parkway. This is funded through a Bridge New York State grant.
And again, that's money that if we didn't get the grant, that the residents would have to pay for. So they don't have to pay for that, and we're going to continue to take those grants when they're offered. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. May I have a motion to authorize the supervisor to sign the contract with Crisafoli Trucking, Inc. in the amount of $11,800 for their structure demolition at 8431 Smoky Hollow Road.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? That's the tearing down of the old house that was on the site at the park. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Okay, we've already had our executive session, so may I have a motion to adjourn at 8:10?
So moved. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for coming.